Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Christina, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 pieces of advice that I would give other stay-at-home moms who are overwhelmed. Whether you're a new stay-at-home mom or whether you are a seasoned stay-at-home mom who's been doing this for a while, these are 5 pieces of advice that I would give to you if you have been in a season of overwhelm. Things that I've kind of learned in 2022. I've been a homemaker / stay-at-home mom for the past 4 years. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I think these are some things that I feel like I've taken away from my experience so far that have really helped my mindset and helped me stay positive and really just get out of those states of negativity. So if you're new here, I post videos to uplift, encourage, and to motivate you if you are an overwhelmed stay-at-home mom who is just really challenged right now in your season of being home full-time. And so my purpose here is to really encourage you to stay positive and keep it pushing. I also am a Christian, and so you will hear me mention Jesus in my videos. You don't have to be a Christian to enjoy my content, but I will be mentioning him. But I also post faith-based content from time to time. So let's just jump right in. So the first thing I'm going to be actually, where can I put this? My kids are asleep, so we're going to see how far I get. And I'm actually going to be knocking out some dishes in between doing this video. So I'm going to kind of multitask a little bit. So the first tip I have, or piece of advice, if you will, to a stay-at-home mom who might be a little bit overwhelmed in this particular season of their stay-at-home mom journey is to extend grace to yourself. Give yourself some grace. Stop beating yourself up just because your home is not picture perfect all the time. Stop beating yourself up just because your kids may not be perfectly well behaved all the time. I know there's this misconception that if you're a stay-at-home mom, your house should be perfect all the time because you're home. Your kids should be the most behaved. And that may or not be true, whatever you want to think, but extend grace to yourself because we're not perfect. We're not superheroes either. And we have challenges and things that we kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis with our homemaking that makes keeping the home tidy and managing all of that and taking care of our kids challenging as well. And so we've got to extend grace to ourselves and stop beating ourselves up and feeling like failures and feeling all this guilt every time things just aren't perfect according to what other people say they should be. So I would say that's my first piece of advice. Okay. A second piece of advice I would give is to remember that your kids are the reason and the purpose. So you became a stay-at-home mom, more than likely you became a stay-at-home mom for your children. And so keeping that in mind as we homemake, keeping that in mind as we manage our homes. Sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in all the things that we're supposed to stay-at-home mom, all the things we're supposed to do as homemakers, the cleaning and the cooking and just all the stuff that comes with it. But all of that stuff is an added responsibility, I would say, on top of the children. They are the primary reason, their primary focus, and the primary purpose of you being home. And so when you get in those states of you're just so overwhelmed and it's just too much, and maybe you're regretting deciding to be home and you're wanting to go back to work and you're feeling like this was a mistake, just remember why you did it though. More than likely, a big part of the reason you're overwhelmed isn't the kids. I'm sure that's, they can be a handful sometimes, especially if you have little ones. But if you take away everything else, take away all the cleaning and the management of the house, the housework and all that comes with being at home full time, I'm willing to bet that most of the overwhelm comes from everything else and not so much just the kids alone. So I think in those moments where you just feel like it's just too much, remember why you're home. You're home to be with the kids. And the most important thing you can give to them is your presence and your love and your attention. That's more important than some of the other things that we tend to focus on. So that always tends to help me when I'm in this state of just like, why am I doing this? I need to go back to work. I can't. Just remembering they're the purpose. All this other stuff is important too, but they are the primary reason that I'm here. And if I need to take a step back and say, I'm just going to take a break from all this extra stuff and just focus on my kids today, sometimes they can recenter you a little bit. So I would say that will be my number 2. I would say number 3, the third piece of advice I would give to an overwhelmed stay-at-home mom is to remember that homemaking is a skill, a learned skill. Most of us, if not all of us, we don't go through homemaking courses before we decide to stay home. There's so much, because homemaking is a lot more than just housework. It's creating, it's housework, but it's creating a home in a loving, nurturing atmosphere for the family. It's giving your home this feeling of your, wanting to be there. You want your husband to want to come back home. You want your kids to love being home. It's creating this lovable atmosphere. So it's about creating that atmosphere of love, and how the housework and all that is included in that. And it can be a lot, but it's something that's learned. I think that a lot of us think that when we quit work and come home, it's going to just be this kind of easy thing that clicks and you're just going to get right into it. And you do get right into it, but you realize real quickly, oh, this is not as easy as I thought it would be, or it doesn't flow as easily as I thought it would flow. You realize that there are some things that you probably need to learn and get better at, and you realize there's a lot to manage, and it's something that a lot of times we learn as we go along. There needs to be homemaking courses, and there probably are. Maybe I just don't know about them. But there's not a lot of courses on homemaking and being a stay-at-home mom and how to manage all of that and how to manage your mindset and how to practically manage everything at the same time. And, there's just, but it's learned. It's a lot of learning as you go. I'm almost going into 5 years in, and there's a lot of things that I've learned along the way that I wasn't doing in the beginning. And now, especially on a new season where I have 2 kids, I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And it's different doing all the things with 2 kids than it was doing with 1 kid. Keeping that in mind, that homemaking is a learned skill. So again, going back to number 1, extend grace to yourself, give yourself some slack, and just know it's okay that you have to learn. It's not something that is necessarily overnight. Some moms might get home and just be beasting it and breezing right through and just killing the game, and it comes easy to them. But I'm speaking to the mom who it doesn't come easy to, and you're just like, yeah, it's okay. It's not it's not for everybody to be naturally good at this. So if you're still learning, that's okay. Just remember that as you make mistakes, as you have a hard day and you're like, I should have did this. This is what I should have done today. This is how I could have been better today with my kids. This is how I could have managed things better today. This week wasn't so good. The house was a bit messier than I really wanted it to be this month. It's okay. The best part about that is you're learning and you're recognizing it and you're saying, okay, this is what didn't go well. What am I going to take away from that and do better next week, the next day, next month, next year? And it's constantly kind of learning. And so that's something I've kind of done for myself. I've been patient with myself because I tend to beat myself up a lot when things don't go well. When I have a bad week and I have 3 or 4 days in a row where the dishes are out of control and I'm just like beating myself up and I'm just like, why can't I get this under control? You just go through seasons where things are a little bit harder, and you just have to remember that this is something that you have to learn to manage all of it. Think about when you have a job. When you go to a new job, you have a training period. You have 3 to 6 months or whatever it is to learn, where everybody has to kind of give you grace. You're in this period where everyone knows you're in training. So it's kind of the same thing when you come home. You got to give yourself, and like I said, even if you've been doing it for a while, it's still learned because every season kind of brings something new. So I would say that's number 3, is just to remember that homemaking is a learned skill and you're still learning. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up if things didn't go perfectly this week, this day, this month. Just learn from it and keep going. Number 4 is work hard, but give yourself 100% guilt-free permission to rest. And what I mean by that is, obviously, I'm not out here giving people the go ahead to be lazy. And I always, if you're lazy, but work hard, do the things, be the homemaker, be the stay-at-home mom you want to be. Push, push, push. But when it's time to rest and you feel that it's time to rest and you know that you need a break, give yourself permission to do that. And I don't mean just give yourself permission. I mean guilt-free permission. If you need to sit down and kick your feet up because you've been going day after day after day for the last week, for the last month, and you've not given yourself a break, even if it's been for the last 24 hours and you just need to sit down, take that break. Give yourself that permission and don't feel guilty about it, because you are human. You are not an Energizer bunny. You can't just keep going. You physically cannot just keep going and going and going and going and going without having a breaking point. We're physically unable to just keep going. We actually physically have to stop sometimes. And I think sometimes as stay-at-home moms, we feel like we can't stop. We have to. It's so the to-do list for a homemaker is never ending. It's ever going. It's constantly, there's never a time you check everything off the list and you're just done. It's always more dishes to do. It's always more tantrums to do. Like, it's just always something to do. But we literally physically are designed to need to rest. And so if you're at that point where you need that rest, you need that day off, and you just don't want to do all the things that day and you just focus on the important stuff, give yourself permission to do that, and do not feel guilty about it, because you need a break just like everybody else needs a break. You need a break just like the 9-to-5er has a break. You need a break like everybody else, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's nothing wrong with needing to sit down and take a moment. So I give myself permission, and I'm not the best at it. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm out here just giving myself all these breaks. I have those moments too, and I start to recognize I'm exhausted. Like I'll go through these seasons where, well, I'm doing too much. I need to sit down. Just sit down. And so I give myself permission. Do I always perfectly give myself guilt-free permission? I'll sit down sometimes and I'll feel guilty for sitting down. So it's something that I'm working on. But it's important to be able to sit down and not feel guilty about it. We're human. We're not superheroes. So I think that will be my number 4, is just give yourself that permission, that guilt-free permission to rest when you absolutely need it. I would say my last piece of advice for stay-at-home moms who might be a little overwhelmed would be to do your best to stop allowing other people's opinions of your stay-at-home mom status, your stay-at-home mom style, how you mom, what you're doing. Stop allowing other people's opinions of your life and your life's choice to be home to affect you and to steal your joy. A lot of people have opinions about, stay-at-home moms, and it's a whole thing. But I know a lot of people can think certain things, and family members might make certain comments that are, again, well-meaning and out of love. But I guess the biggest thing for that one is that it's easy to allow other people who are outside of your home, to their opinions and what they think about you being home, and what they think about, how you manage your home and how do you raise your kids and all that, to really steal your joy and to take away from the blessings that you have going on in your home. And you don't want that, obviously. You don't want people who are outside of your house to steal the joy that God has blessed you with, right? Being home with your kids is a blessing. It's work, but it's a blessing. We love being home with our babies. And even on the most challenging days, they make it all worth it. And sometimes we can allow what we think people are, whether what we think they think, or what they say and how they feel about us being home, to kind of steal our joy and ruffle our feathers and put us in a mood. And it could really put a damper on your day-to-day. We got to work on trying not to let other people's opinions bother us so much, because we know why we're home. We know why it's important to us. Our husbands know why it's important. I'm hoping you and your husband are on the same page. He's fine with you being home. He wants you to be home. Not that he forced you, but he's okay with the whole setup. And I think if everything's good inside the house and you guys are happy with your situation, you're happy with your setup, you're happy with how things are going, with the decision to be one person making the income and you stay home and raise the babies and take care of the house at the time being, if that's what you guys decided, that's what matters. That's literally the only thing that matters. And whoever is outside of that unit, that unit within your house that is having opinions about you not working and your husband doing it all by himself, and don't you want to help your husband, and none of that matters. Because if you and your husband are on the same page and you agreed on the setup that you have and it's working, whether there's some kinks to be worked out or not. That's all that matters. So I think sometimes that can, and there's the baby. So I'll wrap it up there. I hope this video blessed you, and like the video, subscribe. I'll put a link below to the blog that I write, allthingssam.com, which is allthingsahm.com. I'll put that link below to the blog that I write on these topics, but I think that's it. So God bless, and I will see you guys in the next video.